Yeah.
and we haven't seen Eye of Mizra. So I'm kind of hoping for one of those two, just to put the showcase on for the fans at home. 5 maps right now in Mecha Break Operation Verge that we're picking between, and the first is random. So curious to see if we get something new, something fresh to take a look at.
Yeah, could be. I'd say we were hoping for an Eye of Mizra. The Oracle was speaking to us last game. Didn't quite get there. Eye of Mizra, again, very polarizing as a map. We talked about teams maybe avoiding it because of the X factor that it throws in.
That being said, I think a team like ANUBYSS actually could do fantastic on Eye of Mizra. I think that might actually be, for most teams, they don't like that kind of chaos. I think ANUBYSS, they live for it. I think they want to create that. And so a map that doubles down on it, I think melee characters are particularly great on Eye of Mizra. When that dust storm comes through, almost all the targeting abilities go down. And so melee characters can still be really effective in that scenario. And maybe, being able to come out of the fog at close range on people is exactly what you want.
Yeah, and given being able to run different compositions as well, gives you a lot better idea of what's going on, because even being able to tell the difference between everyone can... Oh, yeah! Give me a high five. That's what's up.
Boom.
Eye of Mizra, baby.
Boom. Striker ban. This is a test for Team NGT. How well do you know your opponent? We could see some very unconventional striker bans come in.
Oh, I like this. If you're going against ANUBYSS, banning out Falcon is not a bad move.
Yeah, of the highly mobile strikers, probably the most popular, the strongest. ANUBYSS, are they hovering a Welkin ban right now? That would be really interesting. And I think, honestly, this makes a lot of sense. Because think about Team ANUBYSS, if they want to play a highly mobile style, what's the one character that is going to lock you down and punish you? It's a Welkin. And so, for all these individuals, yeah, you can run all the turrets in the world with Stego and Tricera and have tons and tons of damage. But if you can't lock down those mobile characters, then you can't quite really deal the damage you're hoping for. So this ban makes a lot of sense to me for ANUBYSS, for the style I think they want to bring, especially on Eye of Mizra.
Yeah, I mean, I think really well done, and I like the call-out that having the threat of Welkin box may just be your biggest problem. I'm surprised to see... Even with that, the Tricera hovered, not locked in just yet, and I want to see how the rest of this composition shapes up, because on the other side, we do have the Stego Tricera Classic from Team NGT.
All right, we've been baited.
All right, and
officially
ANUBYSS,
been baited.
So do you think that's because of the Falcon ban, or do you think it's just, what we're feeling today?
Maybe they want to stray away from this. There's also a chance that they could be trying to hide some strats here and save something for deeper in the competition. I mean, I saw them running a composition without the Stego Tricera, but maybe they feel... it's a fair point, though, that Falcon can be part of it. Still Aquila Inferno for both squads, so it's going to be, I believe, a full mirror match here.
Now, because of this, it means, your Falcon, your typical IGL, isn't going to have their main pick. We're now having an Inferno IGL, which will be really interesting. I don't think we've really seen that before, because we haven't seen that many Infernos, to be honest.
I actually kind of like Inferno as an IGL, because you're such a huge damage healer, but you do need your team to support you, that can keep you alive. When you are being contested, it could be trouble. And so having that being your natural IGL, playing for this hard carry potential that Inferno does have, kind of fits the IGL's role, right? Give him all the resources he's hoping for. Here we can see that dust storm bearing down on Eye of Mizra. Gets things real interesting when that comes into effect.
Real quick, for those of you who may not have seen it before, we should explain how Eye of Mizra works.
Fair.
You're going to have 3 different points, kind of like Cape Blanc Observatory, where things can spawn. They're keys, they're data keys that you need to pick up and deliver to the ship to get it to launch. I guess getting it to launch to win is what's important here. So you're going to be trying to gather keys. You also get points for kills, so look out for points A, B, and C, where teams will be trying to collect keys and then run them to the ship without being taken down first.
Both Aquillas poking from range. At this point, there's no objectives on the map, so it's really all about the kills in the opening minute. Team NGT, Trip super low, struggling to stay alive, trying to get into this engagement. ANUBYSS take a little bit of a lead, pumping the damage. They want to snowball this into an actual pickoff, though.
Really making use of the fast descent just to avoid any damage, but Kishinman not giving any space at all. ANUBYSS are all over this small bit of terrain, playing for the kills more than anything. They're already up 1, but he's going to spawn at point C first. That's going to be all the way behind ANUBYSS out in the open, so they may very well start moving there in the next couple of seconds. It does depend whether ANUBYSS want to play for a more elimination-focused game and points, or whether they're going to try and run a few keys.
Seems like they're pumping the limbs right now. I mean, continuing to find pick after pick. NGT scattered to the winds right now, unable to regroup, and ANUBYSS is striking while they have this opportunity. right? Each one of these kills gets you that slightly bigger lead. It also creates opportunity for somebody else to go capture the objective, as you're seeing on that left side of your screen right now. ANUBYSS bringing their Stego Tricera, this incredibly powerful tank duo, capturing objectives while the rest of the squad just brawls, just fights. Minima using that movement speed boost, getting right into the capture, starting to score here.
And at this point, it's just waiting until the bar at the bottom of the screen fills up. Minma should be able to do that, as it's very hard to catch Illumine, and when you've got only your Inferno on it with absolutely no crowd control, it's just not going to happen. I think there's a really nice call here to peel off of that and not even try and deny the key. You know that you've given away the 30 points, and it's back to work for NGT, trying to make another key pickup happen and hopefully get some kills, because right now, they've yet to take down a single member of ANUBYSS.
Yeah, Kishinma is getting a lot done, and the confidence really overflowing here from ANUBYSS, up 36-0 here. NGT getting crushed, getting potentially wiped here. Yoshigo trying to fight, trying to stay alive, but without the front line, it's going to be very difficult for Inferno to get much done. And ANUBYSS, look at them crashing over the top of NGT. They're struggling to hold on to this position. Inferno getting big damage now, but he can't really stay, can't stand and deliver here inside of the room. Key about to spawn, though. Objective could complicate things.
ANUBYSS making their way out again, still yet to drop a member. Even as we go low, nobody's even dropped below half HP right now when Team NGT lose yet another. It is 38-0, and ANUBYSS, I gotta be honest with you, Jake, are running this map so far. There is a reason that we saw them scrim it so much and play these high mobility compositions. Even with the Stego Tricera, they are still making this look like an incredibly fast-moving map.
Yeah, Kishima's laughing. He's having a good time. I mean, I can see why. They're running really rampant here. NGT have 2 players still on the respawn. Dropping any more would be really brutal. NGT, they're trying to struggle to regroup and just stabilize, but ANUBYSS aren't letting them get that done. They're capturing the objective while still continuing to push the issue, pressure for kills. Kishima gonna snag some capture points here.
I thought for sure he was going to get collapsed on. That was a red line, had no energy left in the bank, and Kishinma still makes it in and is under absolutely no pressure as the team continues to pick up kills. It's going to be 66 now to nothing, making it 71 in quick order as we pick up a few more points off the key delivery. Next one spawning at point C, and the teams are already there. ANUBYSS laying siege as the sandstorm has come in, Jake, and now is when we see the melee characters really shine.
Yeah, it's so chaotic here in the dust storm. Targeting systems on the fritz. It's up to every man for himself. The fight is really splitting. It's hard even for teams at this level to stay coordinated, stay together. The key is about to spawn, and ANUBYSS are very close to taking this first map. A decisive team fight here will probably be enough to get them over the line. NGT struggling on their last leg. They still have their players alive, though. They're fighting this out well. ANUBYSS, they're not able to close this out easily. Yoshigu trying to stay alive, trying to get something done here on this Inferno, but struggling to even find opponents. The chaos of the dust storm burning down the fluid armor on both sides. Here comes the key, though.
Roshigo right there was making really good use of the Korite crystals to recharge the fluid armor. That's something that I think a lot of players learn over time, but standing near these crystals, providing you the boost in fluid armor and energy regeneration, kept him alive there when otherwise he could have been in a very dangerous position. We still have not seen a kill onto a member of ANUBYSS just yet, but one could be incoming at any moment. At the time, though, we are seeing them go completely ham.
Yeah, when the dust storm clears, ANUBYSS just wipes the floor with NGT. 3 kills already. Now it's 4. Grabbing the key seems like a foregone conclusion here. NGT desperately trying to just deny the capture, but it feels like too little, too late. 5 players on the deck, only 1 fighting it out against the entire lineup of ANUBYSS, who have just, looks like, secured a flawless victory here. They're running it to the launch site, trying to get that finished key delivery, doing what damage they can, but not even really focused on that. NGT just forced into these desperate recontests with so few players alive. Roshigu pumping damage, but now feeling the focus fire from the rest of ANUBYSS. I
mean, it is a real vote of confidence to have your Tricera picking up the key. That's how I'd put it, is that with a striker that suffers from limited mobility, right now being focused by an Inferno, seems not to have a care in the world. The key is being delivered, and that's going to take us right on over to 100 points. Eye of Mizra, I gotta say, not even close.
ANUBYSS, they look really well drilled, and on a more conventional composition, still look fantastic, right? We were asking that, okay, is this team that's just like completely different? They just have a totally different approach to the game? No, I mean, maybe they will be. Maybe they have that in the tank. but they're not that. They're not just that. They're not
Yeah.
only this one-trick pony playing something totally different. They can still bring the heat on a conventional composition, on one that other teams consider strong. So I think that bodes well for them. You're going to need to have compositional depth and versatility. But NGT, man, that's a gut punch. 100-0 on Eye of Mizra. Remember, even one kill would score you a point, right? You get something on the board there. And they can't even find that. So, this is the nature of a first round in a double elimination bracket where we are going to see some mismatched teams here. Seems like this may be another one of those with ANUBYSS. 100-0. No kills on the board for NGT. How do you recover from that deal?
Yeah, I think similarly to last round, you go, all right, well, we're going to be playing this in the long run. You still try for map number 2. You pick something that you're maybe a little more comfortable on. See if maybe an Inferno ban changes things. But I wouldn't be too worried about it because after this round, yes, coming back for game 2 is going to be hard. It may be impossible. I think you give it your best shot and you plan on the VOD review because what you really want is to not roll over. Because if you roll over, you've got nothing to play for in the sense of looking back at what you could have done better. You want to give it your best shot in as much as you can and work on maybe your communication and what you can change in the coordination that map wide.
Yeah, just find something to build on, right? And to make that foothold in the series would be big here. Even, heck, got to start somewhere, finding a kill, something. Yeah. But ANUBYSS, the team players were really solid from the squad. They were great. Even when players did drop low, they were quick to be bailed out by the rest of their squad. The Dust Storm was kind of that one moment where NGT had an opportunity to slow the game down, sort of the nature of the chaos of that Dust Storm on Eye of Mizra. However, ANUBYSS, when the Dust Storm cleared, they were just so quick on the focus fire, instantly turning, finding pickoffs, and then the game is pretty much done from there, winning that team fight, carrying the key with the Tricera, as you mentioned. And ANUBYSS, I'm just curious, what more they have to see. I want to see them pick a Panther. Come on, guys. You won 100-0. You can play some Panther for us.
I think
surely.
so. I think so.
Surely, that's for the people.
That's what I'd be thinking. Now, I do wonder what you're considering as a map as NGT, because we did go pretty wide open. I wouldn't really bet on doing that again, given how well we saw ANUBYSS manage not just threats to themselves individually, but to their team. This whole 0 kill thing that they had going on, or 0 death thing that they had going on, is really telling of a squad that's able to play together and use their cooldowns not just selfishly, like you'll sometimes see Stego's Triceras do, for example, but for the benefit of those around them.
Yeah, thinking of a map type that brings us into that, like away from the wide open, heavily split style. It could be a Palm Bay Harbor where the fights tend to be, really concentrated on those payloads, on the objectives. Could be something a little bit more comfortable for NGT. However, man, that's a crushing map one, right? It may be Eye of Mizra, maybe that's like a great spot for ANUBYSS. It could be a low roll on the random map, but 100-0.
Yeah.
I think that goes a little bit beyond stylistic differences. This is just the strength that a squad like ANUBYSS brings to bear.
I'm on the same page where I think I'd go Palm Bay. Like, it may not be perfect, and it may still be a game that extends itself and doesn't feel very good to have your payload being reversed or not able to make progress, but at the same time, you get to pick your Stego Tricera and know that ultimately you're going to have ANUBYSS coming to you. And that may very well be just what you need.
And now Falcon is also available, right?
Oh,
like
no.
You've used your Falcon ban.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the challenge, is to be able to deal with the Falcon, which I think is really something that's been successful for ANUBYSS in the past. They've been able to play that high mobility style. Falcon is kind of the king of that in terms of the amount of damage you can deal. Let's see what the ban is. As we're looking at MVP here, Kishinma, come on now. With the Inferno, putting up big numbers. This is just a beat down in the end, though. I don't even read too much into these stats. Just monster performances from everybody.
Yeah, this was a game that came more down to game plan than individual performance.
Yeah,
and like team synergy. Yeah, I agree. It's nice to look at the stats, and it's certainly for ANUBYSS, it's going to be nice to feel like they're padded, right? Hey, we got some pretty good numbers on there. Ultimately, NGT needed map, needed game, whatever it may be that works a little bit more in their favor. And Kishinma, again, that Inferno, really putting up the numbers, and of course, I think the more important thing, not dying a single time when on the squishiest striker that we have available. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, you can see he's feeling it. Confidence oozing. You can't blame him, right? I think we saw Lunar Break come out huge in their series, and ANUBYSS, that's a team that they want to target, that they want to challenge. As we take a look at some of these highlights from map 1, and it's going to be pretty much all ANUBYSS. They ran the table here, not dropping a single striker.
Even in a map with plenty of ultra heavies around as well, the Stegos, the Triceras, ready to melt you. we're still seeing Infernos take to the sky like this completely unbothered. I do think a big part of that was a lack of the Falcon in the game, and I don't know whether NGT would have been able to put on a huge pressure. Oh, yes, sir.
We're goated with the call.
Absolutely.
Palm Bay. It's going to be the pick for NGT. But ANUBYSS have already shown something, you know, that is like we were wondering, will they play the heavy turret style? They show they absolutely will. They can. They have no problems with it. And so, yes, they have this like incredible flexibility, but they also have a solid core, a solid base. And I think for ANUBYSS, this is about a tour de force. You know, I think they're such strong favorites after map 1. NGT is going to be struggling, and I think for ANUBYSS, you kind of want to win this 100-0, right? You want to just like really put your stamp on this series and build that head of steam, that level of confidence that's going to carry you into potentially tougher matches further on in the bracket.
I'm going to say this, and it's not a crazy take. I just want to put it out there that going 100-0 in Palm Bay Harbor is more impressive than going 100-0 on IMD.
100-0, you're doing too much, frankly. If you're going 100-0 on Palm Bay, you're doing a little too much. It's kind of disrespectful. But I kind of like that. Let's take a look at the striker ban. See if the ban pick can change things up. ANUBYSS, what are they going to take out? Thinking about it.
I'm not sure what we'll go with. Right now, it does feel like you take out a
Sky Raider
this
ban.
Is not,
what
this
the?
Is not relevant.
This is a little bit of a troll ban. I just feel like let's leave all the strikers in. You know, like let's there's just a respect Inferno ban on Kashima, but you know we know Kashima's got more on the tank. We know he's got diversity on the squad. Let's see what the picks are.
I mean, I was actually expecting a transfer to the Falcon immediately.
Oh,
and looking at
snap!
ANUBYSS,
It's the comp. We saw this once before.
Oh, Lord.
This is the rejects comp.
Yeah, they're not even running Falcon. They are sitting on top of the payload, and they are not moving.
The ultra heavy tank strat. I mean, I like this. When we saw it from rejects, I thought this strat was really sick. That, like, you know what? You can have the whole map. We'll take the objective.
Interesting to see the ANUBYSS hovered for Team NGT. And the Panaka as well, so a little bit more burst healing, a little bit more protection. Maybe this game is going to be more about enabling the ANUBYSS to jump into the backline, play for stall, and then let everybody else pump damage into what should be an ANUBYSS that is focused internally?
In theory. However, I see your strategy, and I raise you my entire team full stacked on the objective. And I kind of feel like that's what ANUBYSS is going to do. They're just going to have all 6 players on the car on these capture points. And I'm a little worried about that. Like, how do you deal with that? Sure, you can, you know, put the Panaka bubble on ANUBYSS and, you know, yeah, at least it's got a second lives, but is that enough? I just feel like that's like a little fly, a little gnat at the side of an elephant that is ANUBYSS playing the objective with 4 ultra heavy tanks.
I want to throw out here that when you're playing into Deathball, something that's really important to have to make sure that that strategy doesn't work if you're playing on the side is pick. And Panther actually could have slotted in really well here. I know it's crazy, and I know it doesn't necessarily feel very good.
I like what you're cooking.
Panther's pick, you know, if you're able to make it a 6v4 against ANUBYSS on cart, it's so much easier.
But finding that first pick off so difficult. Team NGT making a quick move to the high ground, very decisive, playing on these Panaka walls. But ultimate height already achieved for ANUBYSS. And remember, they have the advantage when it comes to this ultra heavy death ball.
It doesn't matter how close to the objective I am because it isn't there yet. That's what I'm seeing out of these teams. Playing a little further back on the Hurricane, just making sure that Stego and Tricera are well taken care of. Not a bad move from Kashima, but also has a lot of damage that you can lay down in an AoE with a little bit of dot as well. Nice setup on the Stego.
This is Stego's heaven.
Just yet, but there it is. NGT lose their first member, ANUBYSS, big advantage, and it is just as the cap point is going to become available. NGT should become another full stack as soon as point A becomes available for capture.
Yeah, and Supadopa cleaning up here on the Welkin. Going to get back into the heat of battle here. And we've seen Palm Bay pretty consistently be decided by these big, heavy fights on high ground. Both teams knowing that, but ANUBYSS already with the decisive advantage now moving forward to clean up, try to capture this open objective here to get that early boost on cart progress.
And Hurricane is super valuable in this moment, being able to stall for time and tank up a lot of damage, refocus some fire away from your tanks as well. We just saw basically 2 Triceras sit on top of each other and just fire in, which happens more often than you'd think.
Yeah, the pickoff's coming in though. Cart rolling forward here. Reset just doing his thing, just chilling, vibing on the objective.
This is your job as a Tricera.
Welcome to Palm Bay Harbor.
Yeah. You don't need WASD when you're on Palm Bay Harbor as Tricera.
So I like playing Tricera and Stego. You know, not so much need for the WASD. More of a left click, right click enjoyer.
I respect that we've got
More
the
of a press 3 enjoyer.
Still going for this. Really hard to close the gap onto this Aquila though.
Yeah, Aquila playing the space really well here. Pumping damage from range, forcing Aquila into that second life already. A little bit of a sniper duel in the sky with the support of a Stego though.
That's without lock-ons too. This is just pure flick sniping. Really well done by Sia.
And that's the thing, you can wait for the lock-on, but the damage potential higher if you can just hit those shots. Play for the aim. Big advantage though for Team ANUBYSS, and that pick-off by Kishinma is really gonna, add insult to injury here. ANUBYSS so far contended. I mean, this point capture is gonna come open up very, very soon. NGT, they're gonna be down one player for that. Could be challenging for them.
Just getting set up on the objective as well. Hurricanes got plenty of time to lay down cover for their team. It is going to be a pretty slow capture as we are at least going to get NGT contesting in the 3 versus 4 on the moment. Hayes gets spread out all over the point, making it that much harder to actually take anyone down. But with a Welkin box in play and all the damage piled in, ANUBYSS, it's just going to come down to a numbers advantage, and that they have, and they make it even better with another pick.
Lumine can just do so much in these team fights, right? That big green healing gas you're seeing, that's Lumine keeping ANUBYSS high health, allowing them to continue to engage into that death ball. NGT keep losing players here and there. Objectives keep going against them. And now, it's starting to be potentially a cleanup scenario here. ANUBYSS, they could try to push forward, could try to press their advantage.
I mean, this is still, as much as ANUBYSS have the advantage, we're still seeing some pretty good cart movement out of NGT. This is not a game that is done. In fact, with a couple of good picks on ANUBYSS, we could see this change very quickly, especially around point C that is going to be fast approaching.
Yeah, they're being hit from all sides, though. The high ground pressure onto the cart from ANUBYSS, the fact that they control the top here, they're pouring damage in. Finding a couple pickoffs here would be pretty massive to deny some cart progress. NGT has a very low players. They're not able to stay on the top of the cart now, resuming that progress, but those crucial seconds, they count. And the next objective is going to be open very, very soon. NGT have no real map position, no ability to come outside. When they do, they get instantly picked off, instantly punished. Yeah,
Nozami, just not long for the world, is constantly being sent back, and every time that you get eliminated, that timer before you come back gets even longer.
Yeah, and the struggle is on here for NGT. ANUBYSS continuing to snowball it forward on the objective. They don't necessarily need to stop their opponent's progress. They have a huge lead. Playing for this checkpoint, though, that's going to give them an even bigger boost. This is a moment for NGT. If they're going to strike back, it's got to be here. It's got to be now. You can't afford to give up this crucial checkpoint C.
Listeny's getting into the mix. Needs to hold the torch. For Team NGT. Has a lot of staying power on the point, but just can't get any damage done. Jumping around is staying still technically in the game, but not able to actually land any damage, disrupt anyone. Team NGT are more watching this game happen to them as ANUBYSS cap the point, rocket their payload ahead, and keep in the lead.
Yeah, and the lead's getting pretty massive now. The contest not working out for NGT. They have 3 players down, not able to progress their payload. Meanwhile, ANUBYSS just continuing to roll it forward here. And with this kind of a lead, NGT, there's no real hope for them to pressure their own payload. They really just have to try to stop their opponent's progress with being just picked apart at the seams. No opportunity to even regroup. 80% now for ANUBYSS ticking forward. And they're in real trouble on Team NGT. They're going for the welcome box on the objective, maybe trying to stall something out and get a pick off. But down a player, this is a really challenging engagement to win.
I mean, NGT have played this so well, but it's just ANUBYSS playing it somehow at every step even better. Even now, 84-70 on the cart is not the worst thing in the world, but NGT need a fight to work in their favor. And piling on top of everyone, they still lose Sakupan.
Tricera committing onto the enemy objective, but there's so much pressure on him. Even Tricera tanking the world, a little bit too much to ask for here. Lumine for ANUBYSS doing a fantastic job. Everybody is topped up. They're not in any kind of risk. And this is the game going against NGT. So many players down. No one really left to contest this payload, to stall the objective progress. Siren just pouring on the pressure from the flank, uncontested. No one can afford to even look at this Aquila. And that's a dire situation to be in here in Mecha Break.
At this point, even the small dodges aren't really helping. you haven't got much longer to live. Trip going to go down. 77% progressed for NGT, but I don't think they're going to break 80 as ANUBYSS continue relentlessly pushing their payload on forward and likely taking the win in just a few moments. Really well done by ANUBYSS this game. And the way that they played this, even though they had to all be together in the same place at the same time, showed us a different side of ANUBYSS that, though we'd not seen it, it looks like they polished it up plenty.
Yeah, they have the real strategic diversity to potentially go far in this tournament, and that was a dominant win. As much as they didn't really focus on stopping their opponent's objective progress, no need to, right? In Palmbay, if you have the lead, as long as you just keep progressing your cart, there's no way to go down. I think Team NGT maybe knew this would be a really difficult opponent to take on. Yeah. They still fought valiantly here, especially on Palmbay Harbor. Made it a bit of a challenge, but ANUBYSS just so clean, so effective the way they approached the game.
Yeah, this was really good, and I'd say really good from both teams, because even with that first match going so heavily in ANUBYSS's favor, I'd say we got some really good tape on NGT. This, though it may not be a win they're walking away from putting them into the upper bracket, you still now get to have a full game played where you go, we actually did pretty well here. What were the differences here that we're able to leverage in the lower bracket? And maybe, if we're able to make it, when we face up against ANUBYSS once more.
Yeah, and these players, you know, they know each other from the same region. A lot of respect here between these squads. And I think ANUBYSS, you know, as difficult of a match as this was for NGT, ANUBYSS could be one of these teams like Lunabreak that is a team to beat in the whole tournament, right? So sometimes you take that first round draw against a really strong opponent. You might drop to the lower bracket, but that's why we play double elimination, right? There's an opportunity to make that salty run back to try to stay alive and make something of this tournament despite a tough loss in round one.
Yeah, a very impressive set of games from ANUBYSS. I won't say two different styles, as we really didn't get their hyper-mobile look this time, but I'll give them certainly a lot of praise for the way that they managed to play Eye of Mizra with double tanks, with the really heavy composition, and still make it look incredibly mobile. You know that's challenging on Eye of Mizra because getting Stego and Tricera from point to point can actually be pretty difficult, but they made that work really well, and I'd say that that's in large part due to the way that they've been practicing outside of that comp.
Yeah, they look really solid, and I think it's a great point that this isn't even really all we can expect from this team. They have more strategies in the bag, and I think when they go up against tougher opponents that really push them to the limit, or if they make it to those best of fives in the finals, you know, that increased strategic depth is, I think, going to play a particularly important role when it comes to winning the whole thing. And you got to think for a team like ANUBYSS, that's what they came here to do. They came here to win the whole thing. Round one, it's just the beginning.
You know what I came here to do is predict MVPs with you.
Okay. Who
do
you like here?
I think
Talk to me.
I think we got to talk about this. I really like the Hurricane, I think, for this round.
Ooh, interesting. Hurricane was doing a lot of damage, a lot of contesting of the opposing payload.
Yeah. I could just see a good argument.
I like it.
Aquila's also a pretty good option, I think.
All right. This is crazy. This is like the most out there pred I've gone for all day. I'm going to go with the Lumine. I feel like the Lumine was a linchpin for the success of Team ANUBYSS, right? That heal gas. I mean, I think Lumine got monster heals. Everyone stayed up. I don't think they lost a pick, right? They all stayed alive the whole time. Yeah. And so, at least in my heart, I think the Lumine is incredibly effective. I don't know that. I mean, Lumine getting MVP is pretty hard, frankly. You know, because even on that map, you're not really on the objective. You're supporting your teammates while they cap the objective. It's really important, but you don't necessarily want to cap it yourself. A little bit maybe too dangerous. I think Aquila is another honorable mention. I think the Aquila being up all game and, you know, sometimes even being chased down by just hiding back, you know, continuing to pump the damage. These teams at the top Aquilas with the great aim, I think, is a really key factor for these teams' success, right? That you have this huge damage threat coming in from the sky. So take a look at some of these post-game stats.
And it is really impressive that, let's see, oh, very nice, actually. We've got...
Little Tricera, little...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe that's to be expected. He's capping the point, doing God's work on point, reset. He was on the point from minute one. I don't know if he moved that game. There's not a whole lot of WASD.
You have to do a lot to take Tricera out of the MVP position on Palmbay Harbor.
That's fair.
Yeah, and to be fair, I do think that a lot of people did a lot. So it's good. It's good that we had the conversation. Throw a few more honorable mentions in there.
Yeah, I mean, Kishinma, though, 8-0 and 10. I think that's a great honorable mention there on the Hurricane. Was a big factor. And this could be a strat we see more and more teams bring out on Palmbay with how successful it's been with the quadruple heavy tank. It's kind of the one game mode where you really can just be all in like, this is where we fight.
Yeah.
Together, all of us, 6 stacked together. And then Aquila's like, I'll kind of do my own thing, but for the most part, I'm also just going to 6-stack with you guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, when it comes to rolling the payload, it gets the job done.
You know, it's interesting to see Hurricane picked just basically on this map, on Palm Bay Harbor, so frequently. And I wonder whether we'll actually see Hurricane picked on other maps, because I think that it can be really good in Krub Sinkhole as well. But it is a pick that really relies on having a death ball that isn't going to move because of its setup potential. Outside of that, Hurricane's pretty easy to chase down. So just I'm throwing some questions out there about what we'll see during the course of this tournament. Will we see Hurricane picked up in something more mobile, or is Hurricane basically locked to Palm Bay?
I think it's definitely at its best in Palm Bay. Here we see Kishinma. Great MVP. Was he MVP on the Hurricane? Well, monster performance regardless. Gotta respect that. 8-0 and 10. I mean, jeez. Pumping damage. 1,000,002.
Maybe it organizes not by MVP on the first slide, but by damage. Maybe? I don't know.
So it seems.
Could be.
Well
Could
done.
be.
Well, good call.
But not
You
a
called
death. That with 2 maps, no deaths.
Yeah.
Flawless victory.
I mean, this is a beautiful win from ANUBYSS. Definitely a powerful mismatch here with how strong ANUBYSS were. It feels like the result of the series may have been a foregone conclusion. But I mean, I'm starting to look forward to some of these the second round tomorrow as we get into the second round of that upper bracket. Some of these really strong teams starting to go head-to-head against each other.
That's going to be good.
It's in the nature of a double elimination tournament.